Hey, we are here at IPX London at the Science Museum, having a terrific day. I'm joined with Alex from Impact. How's it going?
It's going very well. It's my first time at the Science Museum, so after we're done, I'm going to sneak away and go see what's downstairs.
How have you found the day so far?
It's great. This is the right size, I think. We do the bigger one in the US and smaller ones elsewhere, but like here, it's enough people you can kind of get around to everybody and have useful conversations without it being overbearing. So it's a great day.
What have been some of the highlights for you?
So our keynote was amazing. It's always nice to get someone from like outside industry to give some perspective on things, because I think we're a very small, relatively niche industry.
Yeah.
And so hearing from outsiders on things that touch on the stuff that we care about all the time is great. And then like, all the panels, right? Everything I know about this industry I learned from our customers, and so that is just more chance to do that.
Absolutely. I loved the keynote too. I also very much enjoyed your product roadmap. It was very interesting to learn about the direction Impact is going in. I talked to Christy earlier and I asked, is this a new era for Impact.com? She said yes. Would you agree?
Well, I have to. I think it's a new era for marketing. Like there's a whole, whether it's AI or whether it's tracking changes or whatnot, like we've been moving towards this thing for a while, and it feels like this year we have to solve it or else we get left behind. And so like focusing on things like not just how AI is going to replace our content or AI is going to replace our jobs, but instead going, how can we incorporate these new technologies in a way that helps everyone move faster, smarter, and have like reasonable conversations, and like smart conversations where you get things out of it, as opposed to hacking against the wall that we have been for ages, right? So new era for Impact, sure, new era for the market, sure, but I think from a product perspective, it's about how can we keep up with all the cool stuff that everyone else is doing, and enable it, as opposed to necessarily defining things, you know?
It seems there's a lot of new AI tools in the Impact platform. Could you name what you think maybe is the most revolutionary feature in the new platform?
Sure. It's not a chatbot. There is a chatbot, but it's not the most revolutionary feature. I think the scale at which we can process data now has allowed us to start to understand some very unique things that we couldn't before. So if I can deterministically now tell you that an audience who reads about this stuff eventually goes and buys other stuff, that's huge, right? That's the holy grail. That's what we've been looking for across the marketing industry, and it's something that has been hard to find. And so it redefines demographic. So I don't care if you're old or you're young or you're from this country or that country, you belong to this demographic from like a physical perspective. What we care about now is like interest demographics, right? What do you read about? And that has so much more, that puts you in a place where you have so much more in common with each other than just like your height, weight, and location, right? And so we've been using machine learning to be able to determine those links and to make it surface to people. And then the AI layer on top of that, the Gen AI layer, I should say, allows us to map that to program goals. So if you're a brand or a partner and you have certain aspirations for the year, it's no longer one size fits all. You tell us what you want to do, and we can then map that back to recommendations of how you should run a program, who you should work with, based on that deterministic product interest demographics that I mentioned. So using that link, right, that's the key.
One of the things that seemed really exciting to me was the ability to actually plan campaigns using natural language, interacting with the AI platform. I'm curious if you've done many tests, experiments with that. How accurate and successful has the AI campaign planning been so far?
So we have been testing for sure, and we're in beta for a lot of it, right? So some of it's running now, and I'll be able to give you a better answer in a few months. I think from a like short-term perspective, we've had some very, very good results. It's a very, like the nice thing is all these conversations have been happening all the time in the background anyway, right? It's how our industry works. It's a people-based industry, which means we all get around and we chat, right? And we figure out what we want to do next, and we've been designing these campaigns for years. All this does is lets us put that into a more structured format and then deliver against it, right? So if a campaign worked when it was manually created, it'll work when it's been automatically created. We just get there faster, right? And we get to do less of the drudge work of clicking around systems and chasing emails and all that, allocate that to the agents, and then we get to design campaigns that are properly compelling and that get our audience engaged. And we do more of that, right? And that's a win across the board.
One of the things I found fascinating about the day is some of the different tones around the conversation of AI. So the keynote this morning actually expressed some AI skepticism particularly around the way consumers engage with it and might actually be turned off by AI content. But then we've also seen a lot of AI optimism and positivity with a lot of the new features in the Impact platform. What is Impact trying to get at with this balance of both AI skepticism and optimism?
I think I can be mildly controversial. I think what ChatGPT, what Claude, what these folks who created kind of the big chatbot interfaces have done is distract from the real value of AI. Like the chat interface is fine, but it's the talking parrot thing, right? Like it's amazing a machine can tell me that kind of thing. But when you start using it for full content generation, it gets bad very, very quickly. And when you start talking to it like a person, it gets bad very, very quickly. And so the optimism to me comes from this ability for it to turn natural language into structured things. If I say, hey, send a voucher code out to a partner, it can be taught to then do the things in the platform that make that happen in reality, right? So I don't have to teach it a coding language. I don't have to teach you how to use a system. I can ask for a thing and I get it. If I ask it to create content, then you just get generic dross, right? And that I think is where a lot of the pessimism comes from, particularly in this industry, where content and authenticity and connection to audience is quite literally our currency. We're not at a stage yet where AI fully replaces that. I hope we don't get to that stage, because I think it's much more interesting as an assistant than it is as a conversationalist. And I think that's where a lot of that disconnect comes from.
Awesome. Final question. Why should affiliates and advertisers use Impact.com?
I think at this point, speed to partnership, speed to productive partnership, and ongoing productivity that doesn't suck away all of your time is the most important thing. And so Impact is very, very focused on making it so that our platform delivers that time, speed to value, delivers high value partnerships, but also then adds this layer on top where we're saying, how do we help publishers be more productive, more successful? How do we help them know their audience even better? And that's fairly unique. And that publisher focus turns into great results for our brands. And so we can build tooling on both sides, but by making sure that we are building on both sides, which is fairly unique to Impact again, we make sure that we're delivering best results for the brands that join us, and that publishers use us as a great signal to be able to understand what to do better for their audience.
Alex, thank you so much.
My pleasure.